Hey everybody, Cypher here from the Crowdsourced Politics podcast with a quick tutorial on how to get your panel stream to the next level using OBS Ninja. OBS Ninja is a free peer-to-peer web-based application designed to bring video feeds into OBS Studios. This thing is packed with a ton of features that make it comparable to other conferencing and video share software like Zoom. However, unlike those other programs, this program doesn't use servers to host your content, giving you even more control and lower latency of your video feeds. I can't stress enough how impressed I am with OBS Ninja and all its features, so please be sure to check out the documentation and look at everything that it has to offer. For this tutorial, we'll be going over the basics of setting up OBS and OBS Ninja for a panel show. Let's get started. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is go over to obs.ninja and create a room. Click create room, and here you can do a number of different things. You can give your room a name. So I'm going to call it test room 1. You can give it a password. So I'm not going to do that here, but this gives you a bit more control and security of your group that you're setting up to invite guests into. If you don't put this in, if somebody knows the name of your room, they can just join. You can make it to where people have to be allowed in, but it's just easier if you put a password. For this, I'm not going to do a password. What we want to do, you can make it so where guests can only see your feed, if for whatever reason you want to do that, but since we're doing a panel show, we don't want that. And then you can also click this button where director will also be a performer. So when it says director will also be a performer, by default, the director is outside of the rest of the room and just basically controlling like who goes into what scene or anything like that within OBS Ninja. But because we're setting this up for a panel show, we're going to go ahead and click on director will also be a performer. Then go ahead and click on enter room controls. So this is the basic setup for OBS Ninja once you set up a room. You can see that you have an invite list, invite a guest link. You can see that there's also the capture a group scene. Capture a group scene is what you're going to pull into OBS as your browser source in order to display you and the rest of your people on the stream. And the cool thing about this is that it has a ton of customizable options. So you can do things like you can force pro audio mode, which will affect your guest and your audio quality if they don't have a good computer. You can hide only audio sources so that you won't see somebody on the screen that isn't having a camera. You can do fade into videos, which allows for anytime you add a person in or take a person away from a scene, they fade out. Show active speakers so that by default, if only the people that are talking are shown on the screen. Display names, etc. We're going to so for a panel show, you're going to want to do display names. People need to know who's being talked, who's talking. You're going to want to do, I like using the H.264 codec. So not everybody has a great system. And if you're pulling in people that aren't also streamers, they might have a more basic laptop or desktop or even using their cell phone to join you on your panel show. So go ahead and click on that too. You're going to want to have them be on that so it reduces their CPU load. And then I think you don't want to do unlock video bitrate. That's for the room. That isn't for, actually, since you're a streamer, you can go ahead and unlock video bitrate too, but we're not going to do that for this. You're going to have to test that for your particular system. And that's the customizations that we're going to add for the group scene. So what you're going to want to do after you get those in is you're going to want to copy the link for the group scene and go over to OBS. And on OBS here, I already have a basic setup created. I have, as you can see, I have podcast, start, solo, professional, which is this scene here. This is basically your basic setup for OBS. It's better to have your elements that are fixed on their own scene and then mirrored into the individual scenes you're using, so they're always in the same spot and you don't accidentally move them when you're moving other stuff around. Same basic practices, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to go over to the podcast section here, and I already have a window here set up for a browser source. And for this browser source, we're going to go ahead and replace it with that link that we had. So as you can see here, it's replaced. It's got the different link. And as you can see, I have it manually set to the width and height that I want my window at. So it's not covering the lower elements, the follow us, the followers, and the donation track. And what this does, it will automatically resize everybody that is in your room, in the room that you're viewing here, and make them fit to this window. And that's, so you're going to, for your particular setup, you're going to need to go around and test what the exact height, width, and everything like that to get it perfectly aligned on screen. But you're going to have to do this manually through this process here. But trust me, it's worth it. You won't have people cropped accidentally. You're not going to have your weird, wonky looking people that are like squished or expanded from trying to crop it like on the screen by dragging it around like this, or anything like that. So you're going to want to play around with it for your particular setup. For my particular setup, it's 1920, so it's the full width of the screen, and it's taking a bit of off the bottom for my bottom elements. So go ahead and hit OK. So as you can see, there's nothing up here yet. So we're going to go back over to OBS, and we're going to go back to OBS Ninja, and I'm going to also customize the invite guest link. So in the invite guest link here, this is the link that you're sending people to invite for their invite. So you're going to send, you can create this and save it. And same thing with your director win, the one that we created, the first one, and make it reusable, but it's not necessary. It's just a little time saver. But as you can see, there's a ton of different options on here, right? So you can do show display names. So you're going to want to click on that because you're doing a panel show, right? You're going to want to do ask for display names because you want people to actually put in something so you don't have to do it yourself. There's a thing like remote monitoring, which allows you to see like the other person's bitrate and things like that. Not really necessary. You're going to want to click on 1080p video if available. What that does, it defaults them to their best camera rather than defaulting it to 720p. Now, people might have great cameras, say they're on the cell phone, right? They might have they might be on their cell phone, have a great camera, but their connection's not so great. If you're having that issue, if you're having that situation, you're not going to want to click on this option. But if you're inviting other streamers or people that have a more professional setup, you can go ahead and click on that and it saves a little time. You're not going to want to click on Pro Audio mode. The reason that you're not going to want to click on that is because it just wastes resources. There's all sorts of things that are being done in compressed. People have their own compression systems and everything like that. Don't need to click on it, right? So that's not something that you're going to want to do necessarily. Yeah, the rest of this things like disable self preview, don't need to click on that. Mini preview, don't need to click on that. You're going to want to enable audio compressor and equalizer options to get better sound quality out of your guest, because what it's going to do, it's going to do those things that, you know, Discord does, or any of the more professional audio systems do. Maybe even you have voice meter on your system. Similar thing. It's going to do those for people that don't have those already picked, and it'll make the sound quality in your stream a little better from your guests. And that's really it. That's all you really need to set up for here. So what we're going to do, I'm going to join my own stream with this. I'm going to hit copy link. I'm going to come over to this window and I'm going to paste it in here. Call myself Cypher 2, and I'm going to say 2 because I'm also the director. Cypher 2, join with camera. Right. Now, it might not say that my video source is good, so I'm just going to go ahead and click on that. Look, I am coming up. All right, and then start. And so this is what the people in your stream will see. They'll see a lower quality video than what you're going to be outputting. It's fantastic, right? So by default, OBS Ninja will reduce the video quality of the people that are viewing your thing in your group, but capture a higher quality to display on OBS. Let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. If I go over back to OBS, and you can see, I think you can see the difference, right? So this is what OBS is capturing right now. I see you got my green screen in the background, and I'm down here in the lower right, and this is what it's showing right now. And if you go back over to what it's showing for guests, I think you can tell that the quality is a little bit lower on the group web stream. But hey, great, right? So let's go ahead and go back over to our director's control room. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to add myself to it. So let's see. Enable director microphone and or video. And because I'm doing that, I have to mute the site because obviously you're going to be hearing yourself if you're broadcasting to yourself. So yeah, did that, went ahead and muted this link over there. And then I'm just going to go back through and you know, pick my sources again. There it goes. So, and close settings. Oh, one of the things that we didn't mention is that it does allow for different settings. So I have blurred. Come back over here. You can see that it's got the blurred background a bit. Coming over here, you can do a digital green screen. Look at that. See, it's trying to pick up the fact that it's a digital green screen, and it doesn't work terribly given that this is a free program. And it's like you can see it, like there's a bleeding and stuff like that, but I'd say it's comparable to Zoom roughly. And then you can also do virtual backgrounds. So the virtual backgrounds, it's just basics and virtual backgrounds, but you can put your own image in there too. Just a little bit of extra oomph that you can give guests that might not have the systems that you have for it. But we're going to go ahead and not do that. Let me go back over to the, and you can see I'm mirrored on both. And this is what your guest will see. So, oh, one thing you do need to do is you actually have to come to the directors panel and you give yourself a name. It doesn't give you the option when you're enabling it. So once you do that, you click on the little name in the top left hand corner of each individual's feed, and then you can go through and look. There it is. We're up. Now let me explain a little bit about what these options here are. So with these options here, you can do things like add to scene. So if you want to have a separate scene for different people displayed on your screen, you can do add to scene. And if you put more scene options, then you can do add to scene 2, you can 3, you know, all the way up to 8 by default, things like that. What this button here does, Rainbow Puke Fix, is that sometimes, and this is a quirk with OBS in general, and with video codecing sometimes as well with lower end systems, sometimes you'll see a video feed go rainbow puke. So it'll basically be a bunch of different colors, it'll be smeared and everything like that. What ends up, what that's caused by is that packet loss, essentially. So with the way OBS is set up, it doesn't want to resend the keyframe. It doesn't really resend the keyframe when that stuff happens. So you can force it to resend the keyframe to reload a person's video. So when you do that, you click on that button if you're having an issue with somebody's video feed, and it'll reset their video feed, and it should fix the issue, at least temporarily. If you're having somebody that has a lower end system, you might have to do that more often. I've experienced more with people that are using Macs or iPhones, lower end iPhones, because again, Macs aren't really designed for this. They've had notorious problems with OS. So that's something that to be on the lookout for. And there's also additional controls. So with these additional controls, this is where you can get into the fun stuff of a panel shell. So with highlight guest, what that does is it makes the guest the solo guest for everybody that's viewing. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. All right. So I'm going to hit the highlight guest on Cypher 2. I'm going to go back over to Cypher 2. So as you can see, it didn't do it for Cypher 2. And the reason it didn't do it for Cypher 2 is because they're the person being soloed. So it doesn't make sense that they only look at themselves. So let me go back over to yes, and look, it's Cypher 2. Now, if I go over to back to the thing and I hit the highlight guest again, and I do it to myself, so my Cypher 1, and go over to OBS. Look at that, soloed. So some pretty cool stuff you can do with that. So that's the basics for this setup. You can do things, you can also do hide guests, which will take them off screen temporarily. Deafen guests so they can't hear anything. Blind guests so they can't see anything. Change their URL so you change the information you sent them for their presets. You can also do cool things like record local. So this is an experimental feature, so it's not entirely vetted yet. It's still being under the works in this program. But the cool thing is that you can sign them to different audio channels and get a separate audio recording for each person in your stream. What does that mean? It means you can get an individual recording for each person and then take it into a program like Audacity or maybe DaVinci Resolve or anything of that nature, and be able to edit it for a higher quality video. And then you can also go into the person's audio settings and video settings. We didn't turn on pro audio mode, so there's not really any audio settings there, but you can change their camera if they have multiple cameras. Say they didn't pick the right one and they're like, oh, I can't figure out how to change it. You can change it for them, things like that. For the rest of this stuff, let's go ahead and hide these things. Yeah, I think that's pretty much explains all of that stuff. Now, this is a panel show. And in panel shows, you typically want to be able to display a video or some other sort of media content and have your panelists discuss it. That's something that happens very often on Twitch. And so we're going to go ahead and go over to how to do something like that. I'm going to go back over to OBS here, and I'm going to go to this commentary tab that I set up. Now, this commentary tab, what we'll have to do is, I already have it set up. So for me personally, I like having a giant or as big of a screen as possible for my viewers to view the content that I'm viewing. And I don't really care about the size of my guests so much in that. I keep it pretty small. So for this, it's the exact same way you set up your initial group scene. So you're going to come in and you're going to take in the link to Chad. So right now we have this OBS Ninja room equals blank, and then equals test room, and all the stuff that has the general basic information for OBS to process your video feed. So if I go ahead and click on this, right? Oh, got it. Oh wait, sorry, that's the wrong link. My bad. It's the this link. Back over. So that's the way it should look. So scene equals room equals whatever. That's what you have for your default for your room list. So go ahead and hit OK. And as you can see, it resized everybody in this window in order to make them fit into the window. Pretty cool, right? So definitely something like StreamYard does, or Restream.io Studio does, Zoom, etc. And if we add another person to this, so let me go ahead and just do that. Add another version of myself in here. And I don't recommend doing this with, if you're testing it on your own, I don't recommend doing it more than 3 or 4 instances of yourself, because it will bog down your computer immensely because you're having to stream a ton of video information. So I do 3 when I'm doing testing. And go ahead and hit start. There you go. So there's 3 on the screen now. Still got the site muted, so I don't have the echo of myself. And if we go back over to OBS, boom, there's 3, right? Now, how do you get only one thing to show up here? Well, that's where scenes come. So if you are the director, the option, if you're a director and you're showing yourself from the director page into OBS, just for like convenience or whatever, so you don't have to worry about maybe muting yourself or doing anything like that, so you don't get the echo like we were experiencing when I was showing you this first place. It doesn't really give you a good option to share videos in the way that I would like. So right now, if I click on share my screen and I go to a Chrome tab, and let's just go to Twitter, for instance, right? So I'm going to go ahead and share my Twitter screen here. It replaced my video. So what you're going to want to do is this instead. As a director, what you're going to want to do is, so you're going to unshare your screen, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come in and see this link, see where it says end scene and room. Well, we auto added guest to this scene. If we turn that off, if we turn off the add auto guest here, it changes what scene it's automatically added people to. And it makes it to where nobody is added to scene 1. So if we copy that link, go back and we replace that link in OBS in each of the spots, have it, we're going to get nobody in feed. But we go back in and we click on add scene, add to scene, add to scene, you get everybody's back. Same thing for this. See here, this is the original everybody's screen. So this is what we're going to want to do. Same thing. We're going to want to do replace this link. Trust me on this. You're going to want to do it this way. Change this link. Takes a second for it to load. And then what you're going to do, instead of having it added, you're going to want to add yourself as a screen share. So go ahead and click the copy invite link again. Come over, enter the room. I'll just say, just name yourself share or something like that. And instead of saying join room with camera, they share with room. And then what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to do share, select screen to share, select screen to share. Going to want to also make sure you always tick the share the audio box. Go over to your Chrome tab, whatever web browser you're using, go ahead and hit OK. Now your guest can see it. You go back over to OBS. And you go back over to OBS. When you go back to OBS, in your commentary, not showing up, right? They can still see it. What you're going to do is you're going to go back over to this, go to the control room, and then add this to scene 2. Copy this link again, and then over at OBS, paste it into this window that you've created, and replace scene equals 1 with scene equals 2. And there you go. Now, you might not want to actually name it share so that people don't see it like this. So probably not a good idea to have a name. So just, clear that out if you did that like I did by mistake. But as you can see, now that we have it set up, if I hit like 11, it fills the screen. It's the whole screen. And that's how you get commentary. That's how you get a commentary set up. Now we have the panel show set up and we have the commentary set up. So yeah, that's pretty much how you would set this up. And like I said, if you go through, you go to your directors panel and you say here, it is called additional controls. You say highlight guest. Makes it the only one person's talking. Now, it doesn't have the cool effect like maybe StreamYard does or Restream.io where it zooms the person in over everybody else, but it works really well and it has a similar impact on your stream. So that is how you do a basic stream setup for panelists using OBS Ninja and OBS. Now, one other thing I want to point out is, before I stop, and this is kind of a little bit out of the scope of this video, but I do feel like it needs to be mentioned, is that in each of your guest panels here, hold on, I want it properly. So in each of your guest panels here, you have this copy solo link. And what this does is, if you've ever had any experience with NDI technology, it allows you to pull the person's feed individually and put that on the screen in any kind of configuration that you want. So if you're having a panel show, but you want it to, I don't know, say you want to have a specific setup for where the boxes are arranged, like you want 2x2 with yourself like off to the side, or you need a 3-3-2 or 2 to 1 on different ends of the screen or whatever, you can do that using the solo link. Problem with the solo link is that it does take more resources, because what it's doing is it's capturing the feed twice rather than once, and from each individual person. So if you're doing that, you're going to run, and with people with lower systems, you're going to run into more rainbow puke problems and the like. And that's pretty much it. That is OBS Ninja in a nutshell. Very, very, very succinct way of looking at OBS Ninja. Again, as I said at the beginning of this video, there is a ton of resources with OBS Ninja and different things that you can do with it that aren't explained in the scope of this video. But I hope that this video helps you make your stream pop just a little bit more when you're doing a panel show. And maybe we'll see more people using OBS Ninja now than Discord in the future. But so I hope this helped you out. And as always, this is Cypher from Crowdsourced Politics signing off.